A huge Arctic blast will be coming to the United States this weekend and next week, and this is going to bring the coldest weather that we've seen all season long across much of the United States, and this will also bring the potential for maybe a couple of different winter storms that'll bring some snowfall. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 10 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country this morning, and for the most part, things are actually looking pretty nice. We do have a little area of moisture that is currently coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, and this will bring some scattered showers and a few thunderstorms over the next couple of days to areas along the Gulf Coast and as well as into the southeast. And on the other hand, we just saw snow back up in the Midwest and as well as back through the Northeast, where several inches of snow just fell, and we'll actually continue to see snow today across areas near Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, and that is going to be from lake effect snowfall. Also back over on the West Coast, things are quiet aside from the fires that continue back over near Los Angeles, California. There are several fires still ongoing, and unfortunately over the next 3 days, fire conditions are prime. That means that very dry weather and as well as very windy weather will continue. The good news is that by the end of this week, the conditions will actually become less favorable for fires as moisture will be increasing and winds will be decreasing. So let's hope by this upcoming weekend these fires are finally done. But for the time being, conditions are ripe for wildfires to continue all the way through at least Wednesday. So over the next 48 hours, we will continue to watch for some showers and thunderstorms in the Gulf of Mexico and into the southeast, and then back over in the northeast there will be a continuation of some lake effect snow, mostly near Lake Ontario, but even a little bit of lake effect snow back over near Lake Erie as well. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, the snow will continue even back into western and northern Michigan. Overall, this lake effect snow will not be very impressive for most of these areas. We're talking about pretty typical stuff. Most of us will only see 6 inches or less of snow, but back over near Lake Ontario, that is where a jackpot of snowfall is expected. We actually could have near Lake Ontario upwards of 20 to even 30 inches of snow when this event is all said and done, as we are going to have a much heavier band of snowfall back over here with a long fetch across the lake with a westerly wind, and that's going to favor near Watertown, New York, a significant amount of snowfall. Now, the weather is going to be changing a ton over the next 10 days, and a lot of it has to do with our jet stream, which is the upper level winds in the atmosphere. This is what it looks like right now. We do have a northerly flow back over here in the Pacific Northwest and Canada, and this is actually going to bring a small shot for cold air over the next few days across the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley. But overall, our jet stream is mostly a westerly flow over in areas like the East Coast and into the Southeast, and this is actually going to be the beginning of warmer weather that's going to be building in the United States as we go throughout this week. Eventually, by the middle and end of the week, you'll notice the jet stream remains very flat overall, especially down here in the southern tier of the country, back over along the Gulf Coast and into the Southwest, and this will keep the weather relatively boring and as well as warmer across much of the United States, which honestly is a good thing. We don't want any more big winter storms. However, we are going to likely see one as we go into the weekend. And then further to the north, that is your polar jet stream, which is lifted very far off to the north. That's where all the cold air is sitting. It's going to be all really confined to Canada by the end of this week. Things change though as we go into this weekend. We are going to see a very different weather pattern because the polar jet stream is going to dip out of Canada. This right here is a big low pressure system, and this is going to bring the threat for very cold weather for much of the United States. And the reason why is because we have a northerly flow here in the jet stream back over in western Canada in the northern plains, and this is going to be sitting like this for several days, which is just going to pile up colder weather across the Great Plains, the Midwest, and even parts of the Ohio Valley as we go into Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And this is just going to continue even throughout the work week. And another thing that we need to watch for here with this jet stream pattern as well is that we're probably going to at least see one winter storm back over here in areas like the Ohio Valley and the Northeast, but we could see a second one try to develop more on the southerly track here of this jet stream. And if we are able to see enough moisture out of either the Gulf or the Pacific or both, similar to what we just saw a few days ago in the southern plains, we could see a formation of a winter storm. Now, the confidence of this scenario is relatively low right now, but it is something to watch for out of this particular weather pattern because it's not very different from what we just saw. And this jet stream pattern will likely continue all the way through the middle and perhaps even closer to the end of the following week, which means that cold air will be sitting across much of the United States probably for at least 3 or 4 days. Now, before we go more into the winter storm potential, I do want to touch more on how cold it is going to be getting across the country. These are the temperature anomalies which show you above and below average temperatures across the country over the next several days, beginning with what's happening Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, a small shot of cold air will move through the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, eventually tracking towards the Northeast late Tuesday into Wednesday. Eventually, as we go into Thursday into Friday, Monday, look at this, a bit of a different pattern, something we have not seen much of in January. Above average temperatures across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, a bit of a different story. Again, this has not been something we've seen much this January. In fact, many areas east of the Rocky Mountains have been dealing with below average temperatures for weeks now, including basically every day this month so far. But as we go into the weekend, that is when things change. We have a large area of cold air that is going to be moving into much of the Great Plains in the Midwest. And you'll notice initially as we go into Saturday and Sunday, the cold air is going to be the most intense back over in the Great Plains. Overall, this is going to indicate that we have a threat here for some well below average temperatures. Not necessarily at the record-breaking level, but as we go into late Sunday into Monday, that is when confidence grows on some very cold Arctic air, including the potential for some record-breaking temperatures back over in the northern plains, where temperatures could easily be sub-zero. So this is an area that we need to watch for very closely as we go into Monday, and that really strong area of Arctic air will move into the Midwest and likely into the Ohio Valley and Northeast as we eventually go into Tuesday, and as well as we go into Wednesday. Now, I do want to mention again that this is still about 7 days from now, so there could be some changes to the forecast. However, models have been very consistent on the placement and as well as the intensity of this Arctic blast over the last few days, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. The Climate Prediction Center is also agreeing that there is a very high likelihood at this point that below average temperatures will impact a large chunk of the Great Plains and as well as back through the Midwest as we go into Saturday, which is this upcoming Saturday, all the way through Wednesday of next week. And basically the entire country has a higher probability of seeing below average temperatures compared to above average temperatures. So definitely a big change is coming here to much of the country. And again, the coldest weather of the season is very possible as we go into this upcoming weekend and as well as next week. And though it is a little too early to go into exact numbers on how cold it is going to get, I'm still going to show you how cold it could get as we go into the beginning of next week. Beginning with Monday morning, this is what it could be out there in the morning hours. These are the actual temperatures. Areas like the northern plains could be as low as -20 to -25 degrees. Many areas in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley could be near 0 degrees as well. And even by Tuesday morning, it only continues to get worse. Many areas in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley could easily be sub-zero out of this particular air mass. And then back over into the southern plains and as well as along the Gulf Coast, our freezing line reaching all the way back down closer to Houston and as well as even back over into the Florida Panhandle. So overall, this is just a general idea of how cold it could get. But with that said, there are still several days until next week. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and we'll keep you posted with the latest on exactly how cold it'll get and also how much snow we're going to see, which we're going to talk more about the snow potential here in just a moment. Now, assuming that this forecast is perfect, which it probably won't be, but let's assume it is, these are the wind chills that we could see as we go into Tuesday morning of next week. And this is just downright frigid and brutal when it comes to wind chills. I mean, we're talking about the potential for feel-like temperatures as low as 60 degrees below zero back up in North Dakota and even in Canada, and even back into the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. Many areas 20 to 30 degrees below zero for feel-like temperatures. So definitely make sure that you're staying weather aware with this. Frostbite will definitely be a possibility with this as well. We're going to keep you posted with the latest on everything that you need to know about this Arctic blast, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel and also click the bell icon down below so you're notified with the latest video updates. Now, confidence is growing that we are going to be seeing another winter storm as we go into this upcoming weekend, and this is going to also come with the Arctic blast. So let's talk more about this as we go throughout the middle and end of this week. We're not really expecting much aside from some showers and maybe thunderstorms back over into Florida. But as we go into the weekend, really going into Saturday morning, that is when we are expecting the beginning of a winter storm to form back over in the Midwest and as well as in the Ohio Valley. Overall, this is likely going to bring at least some light to moderate snowfall, perhaps even pockets of heavy snowfall across areas in the Ohio Valley. Exactly where all that snow falls is still uncertain, as this is still about 5 days from now, but confidence is increasing that we're going to see snow somewhere in the Midwest and as well as in the Ohio Valley. And then eventually, as we go into late Saturday night, the snow will continue to move east and northeast towards the northeast and as well as back near the Great Lakes, and also back through the Ohio Valley where several inches of snow will be possible. And then by Sunday morning, overall things start to downtrend a little bit. The GFS model does have a resparking of snowfall back through areas in the Great Lakes and the northern Ohio Valley. This will be an interesting trend to watch. This is a newer trend with this particular computer model, but nonetheless, we are expecting a winter storm to some extent, regardless of that even forming. And then eventually, as we go into the following week, things become a lot more uncertain, but we do think there will be a chance somewhere down here in the southern plains or the southeast, at least for some showers, but perhaps even a little bit of snow. We don't know where that's going to happen or if it'll happen. It's really low confidence right now. The latest GFS model run is showing that back over in the Carolinas. Again, it's too early to get into specific details here on what will be happening here, but it is going to be something to watch for. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and we'll keep you posted with the latest on on any sort of chance of this actually happening. Now, it's really too early to go into exact numbers on how much snow we're going to be seeing out of this winter storm since it's 5 days out. I just want to give you a general outline on what we might end up seeing out of this, and notice how many areas will be picking up at least 3 to 6 inches of snow, some pockets well over 6 inches of snow as well. And if we get that little resparking that I just showed you on the back end of that particular winter weather event, we could see additional snowfall accumulation, almost double the amount of snow out of the first winter weather event here across the Ohio Valley in the Northeast. So definitely gonna be a trend to watch for here over the next few days. And here's the chance of seeing greater than an inch of snowfall over the next couple of weeks. And again, it's really too early to tell whether we are going to see snow along the Gulf Coast or back through the east coast of the United States, but hey, there's a chance. I mean, many of these areas have a 10 to 20, maybe even 30% chance of seeing an inch of snowfall over the next 14 days or so. So definitely something to think about here. I mean, again, we might see a little bit more snowfall before January is over, especially with this Arctic blast that is on the way.